NOF is branching out to college football. Once a week, we are going to bring you the latest on LSU and Tulane with two of the very best. Talking LSU with us is T-Bob Hebert. Of course, you recognize that last name, Bobby Hebert's son, T-Bob. He is in Baton Rouge working for ESPN Radio, and you can find him on a multitude of podcasts. The guy is great. But with T-Bob, we're just going to have to keep him at bay this year, depending on how the season goes for LSU. And then with Tulane, we are going to be having current Tulane wide receiver Jha'Quan Jackson breaking down everything with the Green Wave. We're going to get into matchups week to week, different things like that. And most importantly, and the one that I'm really excited about, is the film breakdown. We are expected to do some of that with Jha'Quan Jackson. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's a good show today. We get the proper use of the common phrase waffling at one point in one of these
interviews.
You
know what? He was cooking, so I didn't want to stop T-Bob. But as soon as
very common phrase.
Well,
very, very common. People use it all the time. T-Bob dropped it just casually.
Social media says otherwise. They heard you.
Social media isn't real life. But this is real life, and we got T-Bob on here, and he kills this interview. Jha'Quan kills it. We're coming to you from the Toro Hospital podcast studio. You have any medical needs, check out the LCMC network, and let's get into the show.
LSU and Florida State will meet this Sunday in Orlando, week 1. Top 10 matchup. We are finally getting into the college football season. I'm excited for this new show. I'm excited for T-Bob Hebert to be joining us each week. T-Bob, thanks for being here.
What's up? Also a proud NewOrleans.Football subscriber for a couple of years now. So I love the product, love the studio as well. Pleasure to be here, and nice to repay Nick a little bit for stopping by off the bench every single day. But yeah, we're hyped, man. I mean, college football's here. Week 1 about to get underway. Week 0 was an excellent little taste test, a little appetizer. But now I'm ready for the real thing. Even though, if we're being honest, outside of Florida State LSU, the week 1 slate is kind of shit. But that's those are complaints for another time, because we're here to talk Seminoles and Tigers.
Well, before that, just run us through your LinkedIn page of the various mini shows that you're on these days. So just tell people where they can find you.
Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m. On Louisiana, on ESPN Radio, whatever your local ESPN is, likely. If you're in Louisiana, Snaps podcast. That's with Aaron Murray. That shout out to Papa Con Cowherd in the volume. It's very fun national daily college football podcast. YouTube.com/@volume snaps, or just Google Snaps podcast. You can find it. And then, we do Scone and Tea podcast. Me and Moscona, we just recorded a new episode. And then also maybe some news coming on the way. But for now, go check out Snaps. I really enjoy it. And if you don't listen off the bench yet, then I would say you'd probably like that as well.
Yeah, T-Bob, you guys are killing it. But let's get to this week 1 matchup. Like you mentioned, it's arguably the best matchup that we are going to see this week. It's on a Sunday, not on a Saturday. It's a rematch of last year's season opener. Of course, as we know, ended with an LSU loss after the blocked point after attempt. Look, both starting quarterbacks are back. I think Mike Norvell has done a good job in elevating Florida State over the last year. It is arguably the best matchup pound for pound. What are you going to be looking for? Because it is kind of the perfect benchmark to see how is LSU going to perform this year.
I mean, they're a perfect benchmark for each other. It's honestly, it's one of the most fascinating games I've ever broken down. And it's just the reasons I could literally go on for probably like 2 hours because what you have here is two teams that mirror each other in so many interesting ways and so many new ways as well. Okay, one thing off the bat, these are two teams that are both considered to be top 10 teams in the country, that obviously last year were going to be kind of shit entering the season. Remember, LSU's win total was maybe at like 5.5, 6.5, somewhere around there. Florida State wasn't thought of as much better. Mike Norvell was on the hot seat. He was going to be fired. And you know what? They kind of looked like shit in week 1. Both did. They both played very poorly. And everybody kind of left that game saying, okay, we'll see where this goes. Well, where it went is both teams went on to finish very well. Both teams went on to win 10 games, far exceed expectations. And then both teams entered an offseason where the hype has only continued to grow. I mean, in Florida State, you have a team that has a top 10 offensive line in the country, top 10 defensive line in the country, top 10 secondary in the country, top 10 wide receiver group in the country, Heisman candidate at quarterback, and the NFL's best running back prospect in Benson in the backfield. In LSU, you have what I would think is a top 10 offensive line in the country, top 10, at least defensive interior in the country. You got Harold Perkins, a top 5 player in the country, according to ESPN. Jane Daniels, a Heisman candidate at quarterback, a top 10 wide receiver group. Like, it's crazy. And again, there are also teams that built in rather interesting ways. Both teams have 20 transfers in the 2 deep, right? So these are both preseason top 10 teams that are favorites or amongst the favorites to win their conference. And they both built in a very new age way, combined with some shrewd recruiting. So, I mean, look, it's got star power with guys like Jordan Travis, Johnny Wilson, Jared Verse, Jaden Daniels, like I mentioned, Harold Perkins, Malik Neighbors. It's got like great line play, good coaching. It's really just got everything. And it's on a Sunday night going against nothing to cap week 1 of college football. I guess maybe technically Clemson Duke on Monday, but still. Just one of the more fun games to break down, think about, and get excited for that I can remember in recent memory.
Let's break that. You said they're built in a new age way. Break that down a little bit. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So, well, what I mean by that, it just goes back to that transfer number, right? Whereas, if Brian Kelly, you take over an LSU team, we all know, right? He took over, had 39 scholarship players in that Texas Bowl. If that's pre-transfer portal, NIL era, being able to induce guys back, that's going to take a multi-year rebuild. Mm-hmm. Instead, he's immediately able to bring guys in, and then they win 10 games, right? Oh, but then they lose guys all over again. They kind of look at their roster. Okay, where are we like, God, we really don't have a middle linebacker. What do? You go get an all Pac-12 middle linebacker from a 10-win Oregon State team and Omar Spates. Florida State. Oh, man, we need a little help in the secondary. They would have got a top 10 quarterback in the entire country. And I'm blanking on his name. He came from Virginia. I believe it's Farrell. But the point is, so like everywhere these teams were weak, they did a very shrewd job of getting guys that can immediately plug and play. Florida State returned Johnny Wilson. They wanted more, though, in their receiver room. They went to Michigan State. They got their best receiver, Keon Coleman. They went to West Virginia. They got their best slot receiver, right? Wilson. So it's you can look up and down these rosters, and on the 2 deep, you have guys that have plied their trade elsewhere, proved to be successful, and are now looking to plug and fill in. And what it means is you have a battle of 2 teams with a ton of upperclassmen. In fact, I want to say FSU on Bill Connolly's returning production, they're at about over 80% for the offensive side of the ball. It's like 3rd or 5th in the country, somewhere around there. And LSU's no slouch, but they're not on that level. So it's I mean, Jared Verse, Florida State's best defender and edge rusher, who would have arguably been a top 20 pick in the NFL draft, that he come out last year, chooses to return. He's a transfer from Albany. So both Mike Norvell and Brian Kelly doing a very good job. God, I was looking for a better adjective. A swell job when it comes to taking advantage of the current college football rules.
Yeah, it seems like a coin toss when you look at this matchup. You got guys on both sides of the ball. LSU is favored to win this game. They are not going to have defensive tackle Mason Smith. As we know, he was dealing with a little bit of a suspension from what is now a rule that he's allowed to. He signed an autograph before NIL. I think it was like a week before NIL passed through. Yeah. But regardless, he gets the 1-game suspension. And look, I know there's still a lot of talent on the field, but when you take a guy like that off of the field, does it tilt things in Florida State's favor a little bit?
I mean, it definitely does. It definitely tilts it in there. It's just a question of, if it's a coin toss, is it enough to tilt you all the way from maybe you're scoring at like 51-49 LSU? Do you now flip that 51-49 FSU? I've seen a bit of that. I've waffled back and forth here. The thing that gives me pause, and Mason Smith ties into this by extension, the biggest thing that gives me pause about this game is that LSU secondary is without a doubt its biggest question mark. And the Florida State weapons are without a doubt, well, and the offensive line's really good as well, but the weapons especially are thought to be some of the best in the entire country. Like when you look everywhere else on the rosters, it's pretty much really good on really good. This is the only place where you see a really good against a relative question mark. So that, and that's why Mason Smith maybe becomes more impactful, because look, if you're trying to affect the quarterback, we talk about it with the Saints, we talk about it with football all the time. Pass rush and pass coverage are symbiotic. If one gets better, the other gets better. Right. So if you have a secondary you don't feel great about, well, Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo being a tandem in the middle, we're going to go a long way. Also, we don't truly know who the edge rushers are going to be for LSU. You've heard some okay things about like guys like Ovia Gofu, Braden Swinson during this this preseason period. Certainly when it comes to run stopping, I think Savion Jones done a very good job. I don't know if I'm expected to be in the pass rush, but the point of that is like if you have Mason Smith in the middle, well, that helps out the edge guys, right? So there is a ripple effect from not having that giant specimen of a human being in the middle. The question is, though, is LSU just still flat out better? And on that, I guess here's the deal. Like, I know Florida State's defense is supposed to be really good. I still have questions if they're going to be able to stop LSU's offense, right? Like, I know their secondary is better than LSU's, but I still think both offenses are going to have a lot of success. I look at a guy like Harold Perkins, who ESPN just named the 4th best player in all of college football. He didn't even play in this game last year. You know, he was I think he had like 1 tackle maybe on special teams. He was not a factor in the defense, and he would later go on to win you multiple games. So I could sit here and form arguments for either. It's so Fence City of me, but I don't have like last year I felt so confident entering this game. I thought Jordan Travis sucked. If you force him to throw the ball, you couldn't. Well, you shut down Benson and Jordan Travis killed you. I thought the lines for Florida State sucked. They did not, right? And so after being so wrong last year, I'm approaching this game with much more hesitancy and trying to take it more seriously. And when you look, yeah, man, I guess on balance, where everything's equal, and everything we just talked about, I'd probably score 51-49 Florida State right now.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, and there's nothing like interior pass rush either to affect the quarterback. But looking at the secondary here, how do you think they're going to hold up against Florida State? Do you think they got the guys to hold their own, or you seem a little worried about it, or what's the
that's the terrifying part, right? Like, no, I don't think you can objectively sit here and say that, yeah, they're going to be great. Now, maybe somebody steps up. Is it a freshman like Ashton Stamps, he's a long kid, he's like 6'1", and he's gotten a lot of hype during camp, but you're going to ask a freshman out the gate to guard 6'7" all-conference Johnny Wilson. This catch 6'7", 230. He looks like freaking Megatron out there. And then, Deuce Chestnut. Okay, a very good performer, all ACC. One of those transfers we were talking about coming in from Syracuse. But is he going to be dominant enough to keep up with like a Keon Coleman or Johnny Wilson himself? So, no, unfortunately, I like your safeties. With Major Burns and maybe Andre Sam, who's a fascinating transfer who worked his way all the way up from, I think it was like McNeese to Marshall to now LSU. But the point is, no, Nick, in terms of confidence, I don't feel great about the LSU secondary matching up with FSU's weapons. I think Jaden Daniels, if LSU's going to win this game, I think this LSU offense and Jaden Daniels is going to have to prove the benefit of the doubt that we've been giving them all offseason, where I see ample reason for this offense to take a pretty significant step forward, even though Jaden Daniels is going into his 5th year of starting. But the deal is he's never been in a situation as stable as this. He's never been in a situation as good of coaching as this. He's never been in a situation where he's so clearly been the leader and had such good talent surrounding him. So I think it's going to be up to the offense. The only thing that maybe gives me a bit of hope, I'm going to go full homer here and try to paint an LSU picture that doesn't rely on logic as much as it does kind of putting your faith in someone, is I do really like Matt House as your defensive coordinator, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy who's comes from an NFL background, right? And he understands how to manipulate, mask, and try to create matchups that are favorable when maybe your personnel doesn't quite stack up man to man. So, no, I don't feel great about the secondary, but I would love nothing more than to be proven wrong come Sunday night.
On the flip side of things, T-Bob, of course, LSU returns their starting quarterback, Jaden Daniels. We've been talking about him, obviously, Heisman Trophy candidate. But look, he was the 3rd most sacked quarterback in the FBS last year. I believe just over 40 sacks last season. The offensive line is a little bit different this year. Are they more built to hold up against FSU now?
Yeah, look, I mean, Will Campbell graded out at a 46 last year. Now, Will Campbell was 18 years old going against Jared Verse. Okay. So with the benefit of hindsight, we're like, yeah, duh. Now I've seen a camp where Will Campbell's been like shutting down Harold Perkins off the edge. And so, no, you've seen massive growth out of this offensive line, but the sack number is interesting. Because it's not just the offensive line struggling, though it was at times. I mean, you had 2 true freshman tackles, which is ridiculous. But now you're going to benefit because they got experience and whatnot. So I expect the offensive line to be significantly better. But more so than that, last year out of this offense, there was a bit of a tendency to be a bit indecisive, be a bit too risk averse. And generally when you're trying to avoid risk, what do? You hold on to the ball longer, right? And so that was a bit of an issue with this offense last year. And really, correcting that is also it's kind of the main area of improvement that I want to see out of Jayden Daniels. This offense is explosivity. Be more aggressive, be more willing to take shots downfield. If you can make people respect the length that you're capable of, then all of a sudden Jayden's ability to run, everything else becomes that much more impactful because it just opens everything up. Like LSU has, it's about the 3rd year in a row we're being told LSU has like a top 5 receiver group in the country. And I'm like, okay, well then make us feel that.
Yeah.
Because you can hit me with all the arguments. You can say, oh, well, this style of offense will never put up stats. Make me feel the threat. LSU's offense had very little times last year where they truly felt threatening.
Yeah, and I think people, T-Bob, it's up to that point now. How many times has this fan base been waiting for a running back to emerge? When's the last time Clyde Edwards-Helaire after him? There really hasn't been like the true guy. Can that happen this year with this room? I mean, we just heard that John Emery Jr. is not playing in the first game. Didn't really get a whole lot of information on that. But is there somebody else in that room that can break through and bring back the run game so Jayden Daniels isn't having to do that load?
Well, it's weird. Like, I don't think Emery, it's funny because he should be more of a factor, but just given his history at LSU, that doesn't move the needle too much. But no, I don't think there's going to be that bell cow. Maybe I could have said it would have been Josh Williams, but he spent camp kind of banged up. And so he lost some momentum he built for himself at the end of the year last year in the spring. It's going to be running back committee. And so it's going to be up to Noah Cain, Diggs, Williams, maybe a smattering of other guys as well. And maybe somebody develops, gets a hot hand, and they become that guy, or maybe not. But I think Jayden Daniels is the driving force of this offense, right? So I don't need the running backs to take too much off of him. I need him to just open things up for the backs to do enough, and for the offensive line with the backs to do enough. And I do think they will be capable of doing that. But I don't expect us to sit here at the end of the year and have 1,000-yard rusher or some running back that everybody's like super hyped about. Our running back is going to be can I get enough out of that group instead of like, can I get enough out of this one individual?
We'll get you out of here on this one. Season's about to start. Got to put you on the spot. What's the season prediction? Can they win it all? How far are you going with them?
So look, man, I think that there's I think if we just want to play like the mathematical odds game, right? I think the over-under set at like 9.5. I would take that. I think they'll go 10-2 in the regular season. I think that's a realistic one. But I mean, when you really look on a week-to-week basis, they're going to be favored against everybody, save for Alabama in Tuscaloosa. This is a year where Alabama has a ton of question marks. So I have a lot of them figured out by November. But like, I mean, you get through Florida State, then all of a sudden 11-1 becomes very realistic. And so I have to ask myself, like, do I shy away from that expectation because I'm so close to it that it feels like, okay, you keep like it's sometimes I feel too close to have the best read, because when I start to feel very positively about things, I feel like I'm being a homer. But I don't think it's crazy to say that LSU should be the favorite to win the West, given the knowns that they have returning versus the unknowns of Alabama. So like 11-1 with a West title, losing to Georgia in the SEC championship. That's kind of how I score LSU here on the at the onset of the season.
Yeah, and the biggest question, T-Bob, can a 10-2 team, specifically LSU with the schedule, get into the playoffs? That'll be the big question. We'll be looking to see it.
I don't think so. I think I don't think we've seen a 2-loss team make it yet. And although we did have 07, a 2-loss natty champion LSU, but I think this is actually gonna be a good year for the last playoff here. I think we may get 4 different conferences, but there's so many seeming contenders that I don't think 10-2 will do it. It gets interesting if you're 11-1 with like a Florida State loss and an Alabama win, right? Or 11-1 with vice versa. So that's when you look at maybe not playing in the SEC championship and getting in, but we'll see, man. I'm just excited that it's finally here.
Yeah, we'll be excited to talk to you after this game next week. T-Bob, thanks for taking the time and looking forward to having you on the show this season.
Absolutely. Everybody, Google Snaps podcast and sign up for NewOrleans.Football. Shout out Nick, Brooke. Thank y'all so much.
Thanks, T-Bob. Our guy Jha'Quan Jackson is back in studio getting ready for the 2023 Tulane season. And you guys are welcoming some new teams to the conference: Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, North Texas Rice, UAB, UTSA, and leaving the conference is Cincinnati, Houston, and Central Florida. It seems like it's wide open for Tulane to take it again. How has fall camp been for you guys, and how do you feel heading into the season?
Fall camp been great. It's been so hot, over 100 degrees every day. So one of the things Coach Fritz did, just balance out. A lot of our games going to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every game going to be outside. Some are during the day. So we went to the Saints facility in the Superdome most of the time, but we try to stay outside most of the time because most of our games played outside in the heat.
Yeah, that's smart to get in the indoor facility. That's where we've been spending most of our time.
Definitely need a break from that heat every now and then. Seeing your guys' new locker room, like just kind of, what were your thoughts on just how
It's
crazy
sick.
it looks, and just
Sick.
what does that do for the team? Just getting that new atmosphere.
It was amazing first seeing it. You know, all the goals that we accomplished last year helped us get the locker room. You know, just going back to yesterday, I was just coming back from the our practice, and just opened and had a memory on my phone that I said, "Dang, I forgot we had them lockers." I was telling one of the players that just crazy how we went from those lockers to the lockers that we have. It's just a blessing, you know, just doing everything right and just being grateful for what we have, because, you know, some teams around the world don't get the opportunity to have the lockers that we have, so we just got to cherish the moment right now.
Last year, you guys were kind of underdogs coming into the season, and now you got expectations. Does that change anything with the mentality in the field and everything, just with where you are coming into the season?
Our mindset, we always the underdog, no matter what. The success we had last year doesn't, like, dictates this year, you know.
Yeah.
We leave everything we did in the past. You just got to do the same thing that we did last year with a little bit of extra different things, you know, and just stay the course. Don't look ahead. Just look what's in front of us and keep that in our mind.
And we've been hearing that Michael Pratt has been looking good in practice and kind of taking a step forward. What have you just seen from him out of practice?
Not just him, just the whole team, you know. Like we took on down wing this summer just to get together and just get the chemistry down and do routes with. So really, what we did is we had all the centers was there, all the quarterbacks, running back, tight ends, and wide receivers, and we just got the chemistry down. Did routes so the timing would be better, and we are way ahead where we were from last year, from Coach Hester workouts to Ben has a whole offense, and like each group is way ahead and got on top of stuff this year.
We've seen, new faces at least that are transferring in. The guy from La Tech, I believe, is a new linebacker on
Tyler
the team.
Grubbs.
Yeah, what have you seen from him? We've heard good things.
A great leader. He works hard. Just having him, and not just him, but the other guys, they're bought in. You could tell that they bought in. Just going through the summer workouts and seeing the things they bring to us and how they did things where he was, and just learning a new system. It's great, you know. It's always great to see players who went somewhere else and then come back home and play in their hometown. And it's amazing.
You been keeping an eye on Tajay at all and some of his highlights and everything?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I talk to him every day. He texts me, I text him. I just try to keep in the same way, like if he was in New Orleans, just try to feel like I'm there and my welcome is still there, even though we're not together. But just keep his mind in the right spot and just be the best he could be, you know. He talks to me and keep me on my toes and everything, and it's just amazing, you know. It's like a brother from another mother that still not living with me, but it feel like he still live with me, because it's crazy. Like, I didn't know we played against each other like 7-on-7 in high school until we got on campus the freshman year in 2019, and then since then we lived together, and then we just bonded, and it's amazing. He's a great young man. He has a great family, and he 10 toes down.
And how do you guys replace a guy that's, you know, kind of a giant in the program, on the field, off the field? Like, what's been the process of just kind of, you know, smoothing that out, losing a guy that was that important to what you guys did?
Yeah, when we come to, like, with the players, we don't try to compare people. What Tajay did was amazing, but we have a lot of running backs that could get the job done.
It
So
seems
it's like a committee thing, kind of,
Yeah,
maybe
it
a little
seems
bit.
like
You guys are
that.
piecing it together with different guys that are good at one thing, step up, and it's kind of everybody filling in.
It's just when playing football, you just got to get the right guys in the right position, and every player is different. You know, Johnny could be a deep ball guy, and Taylor could be not a deep ball guy, shifty, and out of the breaks faster. So it just when playing this game is all about numbers, concept, and getting people in space.
You mentioned Michael Pratt looking better and how he's looked better with the wide receivers getting together this offseason and things like that. But what steps specifically have you seen Pratt take forward in his game?
Just watching film more and just getting his mechanic better. Just rehabbing more. It's just how when you get to that point where each year in college you learn more, and as you learn more, you try to be better and try to be better than what you were last year. And you can see that eager in him that he don't want to lose. He got that winning mindset in his mind each and every day. He come ready, smiling. He the first one in the building, last one in the building. I try to beat him there every morning. I try to beat him, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But he's looked great fall camp to now. Accuracy look good on time, and can't wait to see him play this year, man. I'm excited for him.
So what are the team goals this year?
Want to know each week, just coming and playing each week, one game at a time, one rep at a time, and meetings you be 1-0 in the weight room, eating dinner, waking up, recover, everything just 1-0. You try to be 1-0. Try not to win. Try not to lose in any other factors.
Looking ahead to South Alabama, you guys, I'm sure, have dived into the film a little bit. What are they doing well that you guys are preparing for?
They have a lot of great players. They're great on defense. Just going into this game, I would say you really got to be ready for anything. It's the first game of the season. Last year they played in a bowl game, so we watching film from last year and just expecting the things that they did last year. But you never know. It's just you can get hit with a curveball. You just got to stay ready. So
I know the goal is always 1-0 for you guys. That's always going to be the motto, the message when we ask anything. But for this team and some of the things that Willie Fritz, I'm sure, is talking to you guys about just this week in practice, what are like the initial things that need to be seen from this team in week one that you guys want to accomplish, like before getting into conference play?
I'm just seeing where our feet at, just seeing when, like I say, these first 4 games just to give us a look at how's the team, before we get into that conference play and see what we can fix and what we don't need to fix. There will be a lot of great things. There will be a couple bad things. It's just the first game of the season, and so we're gonna have a lot of times to fix that after Saturday. But I know we're gonna get the dub Saturday. So.
Are you guys expecting to go on another championship run this year? What's the season prediction? You guys feel like you're coming back stronger than ever, missing guys? Where is it right now? Where's the team at?
Going into this year, like what we did last year, the standard is set. The goal is championship every year. So from here on out until, I don't know, to the next head coach, that's the standard.
Do you like that standard?
Oh, most definitely, man. With things that we did last year, you could just see how New Orleans and Uptown and everybody loves Tulane. Everywhere I go, it's just, you played on the football team? I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, I did. It was amazing. How was it? It was great, But I'm glad we did what we did last year just to bring out just for the football team, the city, and just to get more players to come to New Orleans and stay home, And that's the best thing. One of the things that I would say is, like, a lot of guys from New Orleans or Louisiana area like to go out of state, but then to get homesick and come home. But that's their choice. But I'd rather them come to, Yama Stadium, Uptown, and play football in front of their own family.
Yeah, well, if you guys keep winning like you are, they're going to have no problem recruiting. We're looking forward to having Jha'Quan Jackson throughout the season. We're going to get into some film study as well with Jha'Quan once we start getting into the season and have some game tape to review, and we'll see you next time.